So now I want to share with you, we are very excited and fortunate to have this very special Fireside chat today on the topic of connecting data risk to enterprise risk. It is a business-centric approach, and today we have Bipul Sinha, who is the CEO of Rubrik, in conversation with Saket Modi, CEO of Safe Security. Let's welcome him to the stage.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, John, and Bipul, thank you so much for agreeing to come and chat with us for the FAIR conference. This is a very, very special gathering, as you can see. A very high density of security practitioners and leaders all under one roof. I am conscious of the fact that we are between lunch and all the proceedings that have happened since morning. So this is a 30-minute session, Bipul. I want to start, first of all, I would almost congratulate you from this whole community here and beyond, because you were the first cybersecurity company / SaaS company which truly broke the jinx of going IPO. So congratulations.
You can call me also the guinea pig of Silicon Valley.
Well, that guinea pig has turned out pretty well, and we are very, very proud of the fact that, of course, you've had in the past great companies which have gone public, but the fact that, you broke that big lull which was there in between, that's pretty awesome. But Bipul, I think you took a concept of data security and really something which was not a very, very sexy part in the past. You truly transformed it to the modern way of looking at things. And this group of people are all about cybersecurity risk management, right? So that connection between data and risk. I'd love to start with your thoughts around, how do you look at data security and how does that connect to enterprise cyber risk management?
So first of all, thanks, Saket, for this opportunity. My first time here at FAIR Institute conference, and I can guarantee you this is not the last time. So truly appreciate this opportunity to be here. When we started Rubrik, we had this idea that if you look at what is the biggest disasters that are happening around us, yes, human error is a problem, natural disaster is a problem, but the biggest disaster is the cyber disaster. And the risk management against cyber disaster, so far we have always focused on preventing attacks, like stopping attacks and stopping breaches. But as we all know, you can't stop the unstoppable. Otherwise, the hospitals will not exist because doctor can prevent everything. Or judges and courts will not exist because the police can stop all crimes. So to holistically think about risk, you need to think about prevention and you have to thinking about the cure. And our idea was that how do we create a new standard in cyber resilience? And cyber resilience is a fuzzy word and everybody talks about it. But amongst us practitioners, what does that really mean? That really means that how do you get your services up and running even when you are confronted with cyber attack? How does your hospital continue to admit patients and take care of patients? How does your school remain open even when you have cyber breach? And how do you ensure that you are continuing business? And our idea was that if we can secure your data and make sure that data is available to the right user on the right platform at the right time for the right duration and orchestrate this data, then you can keep your services up and running. So the idea was to create a data security platform as opposed to infrastructure security that has been the traditional cyber security. And if you think about data security and think about preparedness against ransomware attacks or breaches, you need to think about data risk, which is the design time before operations. Who has access to the data and what data you have? Data threat, who is doing what to your data? And then are you able to recover in case an illegal or illegitimate activity becomes an attack? So how do you think about that whole risk end to end? And how do you express that risk to your business leaders, saying that we have an acceptable posture against cyber attack?
Very, very useful, Bipul. By the way, I'm on the page. Feel free to add your questions. So I'm getting questions from the audience also, so I will keep asking Bipul. Bipul, when you talk about data security, in the world of FAIR, if you look at the FAIR tree, there are two parts to it. One is the actual loss event frequency, which basically is about the probability of a loss occurring. And the second is the loss magnitude, that if an incident actually occurs, what is the estimated dollar magnitude that we are talking about, which further breaks down into primary loss, secondary loss. Almost everything that you do falls in the category of making sure that the loss magnitude can actually come down. Talk to us a little bit about that. You have a very nice framework around minimum viable business, on how do you start looking at that, what matters to the business the most, and how should CISOs in the room go about thinking through optimizing that part of the risk equation.
So Saket, as you said, the loss frequency is something that you have to apply a lot of technology to prevent. But the losses are inevitable. So how do you ensure that the magnitude or you can chop down the spike? And the way you chop down the spike is to be able to recover and get back into the business fast. Because the cyber attacks have gone from bored teenagers sitting in their basement and showing middle finger to large organizations to really industrial espionage and cyber warfare and insider attack and all sorts of scenarios that we are all living in. So the critical matter here is that how fast you recover from cyber attack. What is your cyber recovery time objective? And as businesses think about cyber recovery time objective, it becomes a huge exercise because you have thousands of applications and thousands of data sources. How do you bring it to bear, and how do you express that to your management team, to your leadership team, to your board, so that you can get right focus on the risk? And we came up with this concept called minimal viable business. So if you think about you're a bank or you're an insurance company, you're a hospital, what is a minimal viable hospital? What are the tier 0 set of applications that has to be running no matter what happens in your organization so that your business is a continuing operation? And then as you think about that, is that your Active Directory that you are able to log in? Is that your email that you can tell people to calm down and not talk to media and ensure that this thing doesn't become a bigger thing than what it already is? Does it mean that your mission critical revenue generating system versus service delivery system? What are the minimum viable set of services that has to be up and running? And if we can deliver the minimum viable set of services up all the time, then your business is continuing operation, and then you can recover the concentric circles after that. But the acceptable risk to the business has to be expressed in the cutting the spikes in terms of loss magnitude, which directly relates to how fast you can get your business up and running.
Bipul, I'm going to put you on the spot here to share something, because you get to see a lot of actual ransomware events from some of the largest companies on the planet. Without naming the brand, do you mind sharing a good example where you actually saw a company which was fully prepared versus a company which was not prepared about an actual ransomware incident that occurred that you can share with the team here, just in terms of the big learnings that they should have in terms of data resiliency? In other words, reducing the loss magnitude as breaches are inevitable.
So I'll give you 2 quick examples. So one was a Fortune 50 company, and it was a Rubrik customer. They had a ransomware incident. They hired Mandiant as an IR service. But the first question, it was a financial services, the first question that the CEO asked was PII involved in the scope of the attack? Because you have to report to authorities, whether it's regulators and others. And the question was that, how can you recover before you're giving that information? Mandiant came back with 30-hour time frame that they needed to analyze the data to be able to deliver that the time. But in Rubrik's case, we pre-process the sensitivity of the content, and we could deliver that thing in 5 minutes. So now think about like 30 hours of your system being down while you're analyzing what is in the scope of the attack had a massive loss that the company was looking at, because every hour the business is down has a significant impact. So the cyber attack has, as you all know, I'm preaching to the choir, has so many facets of being able to deliver recovery, to being able to understand risk, to be able to understand triple extortion ransomware, double extortion ransomware scenarios. Other example which was very interesting was one of our large telco customers in Middle East had a ransomware incident. They recovered their systems. Threat actor came to them and said, hey, even if you recovered the system, I have sensitive data from your organization, pay us money, otherwise we are going to release. Customer had the report of what they had access to. They called the bluff, and threat actor went away. So the data exfiltration, wipeware, destructive cyber attacks have become the order of the day. And this has become so vicious that they are bypassing your EDR tools. As you might have seen some reports that now 80% of your cyber attacks are actually encrypting virtual machines as opposed to going after OS. So this is a fast evolving scenarios, and unless business think about acceptable risk and minimal viable business, it is very hard to express what you need to be successful as a cyber risk leaders.
Bipul, I'll come to you with a question around some specifics of, when you talk about minimum viable business, because this community is about how do you justify the ROI of investments of any kind to the CFO, because the CISOs are going to the CFOs. And there's a lot of technologies to invest in, right? Two-factor authentications, firewall, EDR, data backup, et cetera, right? And FAIR enables you to be able to go ahead and provide options, because the acceptable appetite of risk really is a CFO and the CEO's decision. It's not a CISO's decision. The job of the CISO is to show the risk in as close to accurate terms as possible, right? But question for you there is that what is a good, like a blast radius, in other words, what you call as minimum viable business, right? If I have mission critical servers with PII data, do you see customers of yours encrypting 100% of that and doing backup 100% of that? Is it 80? What is the standard that you see? Does it differ with industry, with geography? What is a good practice that you can go ahead and just share so that CISOs can see, are they in the ballpark of best in class, mediocre, or they have a long way to go?
See, as a CEO of a newly minted public company, we all also have a significant cyber risk that we assess ourselves, and me and the board, we look at it. And it is very hard for us to make a decision as a business leaders by saying, hey, I have this risk and this risk and this risk. How do I understand what risk is important, what is not? What is an acceptable risk? Because there is also asymptotic relationship. You could be spending a lot of money, but you may not be very secure. Going from one EDR provider to the next EDR provider, or going from one firewall to the next, may increase your posture by 2%. Is that worth it? So the way I think about this is that how do you do quantification of the risk? And that's why Saket and our team have a strategic partnership where we are saying, can you quantify what is your status today? And if we are going to take 3 actions, what is it that we are going to result into? How much of the spike of the downtime risk potential that we have, we are cutting down? Unless you are able to express acceptable risk for the business and how far away from the acceptable risk we are, and what are the 3 concrete actions that brings us closer to the acceptable risk. And acceptable risk could be 12 hours of downtime, 6 hours of downtime, 24 hours of downtime, no downtime. Depends upon your organization. And you have to quantify it and talk in terms of the business outcome. Because as a CEO and as a board member, it's very hard for us to fathom, and I'm a technologist, I understand, but most of the CEOs, hard for them to fathom what is this one tool and this other tool and this other tool. They need to think in broad terms in terms of what is the downtime, what is the impact of the downtime to my business, does it have customer trust issue versus service delivery issues, does it impact top line versus credibility? You need to express that, concrete action, what is the quantified change, and create like a roadmap. And you can't solve all the problem in one go, but create a roadmap saying, here is what we are going to do this year, and here is what we are going to do next year. Here is a path to the acceptable risk posture.
That's very, very useful. Bipul, let me take you also one step further, because things go wrong all the time. And there is so much that you can do in terms of communicating that and being prepared for that. And that's the reason why you guys have this very interesting concept of guarantees, and there's deep partnership with insurance companies that you've come up with. We announced yesterday a deep partnership with Marsh, for example, and we've been working with multiple brokers and carriers. Similarly, you have a deep partnership with Aon, for example. What role does that play? Because you're talking about probability of a hack to saying hack will happen, let's prepare for that. Now, after a hack has happened, and technically now you're going to one level further, which is more financially supporting customers. What have you seen on those lines, and what was the inspiration on making sure that you drive those relationships with insurance companies?
See, what has happened is that the cybersecurity as a topic has gone from a very technical topic deep down in the organization to a broad business risk. And what we are seeing in our business, that we are talking more with chief risk officer and CISOs than the CIOs and CTOs, is because the risk is now rising to the top. But the issue is, why should the business that is using technology from multiple vendors take all the risk? And what responsibilities vendors of these technologies have in terms of making you secure? It's kind of like a one-way door that, hey, take this drug, and you are on your own if this drug is effective or not. What is the skin on the game from the other side? So I'm a firm believer in that it has to be the partnership on both sides, and there has to be skin in the game from the provider of the technology to the consumer of the technology to share the risk. And in fact, Biden administration, in their cybersecurity guideline, they talked about shared risk, because if somebody is using your software, what risk do you cover? What skin in the game you have? And so warranty was our way to express that shared set of risk-sharing responsibility, skin in the game, so that when you have attack and you call us, we'll go to the world's end to make sure that your business is up and running. So that's like the broad theme we have. One of the side effects of what we do, we are creating conceptually a new asset class, investable asset class in cyber risk. And so if you think about insurance companies or brokers or in the ecosystem players such as Aon, when they go talk to the customers saying that, hey, we are thinking about, customer is saying, I'm thinking about underwriting my cyber risk. How does a company such as Aon figure out what technology you have, what people you have, what are the best practices, are you able to recover? Because everybody says the same thing, that we have the best technology, best people, best service practices. So it's kind of like an old economics book, right? You're in the used car market, or how do you understand lemon versus good car? And the warranty is a way to express from the customer side saying that, hey, my software provider has a backstop for me, which means that your risk of underwriting goes down if the customer uses the right software. So it has overall high transparency outcome, shared risk outcome, and I feel that it's the fair and right thing to do in this industry.
And that's exactly, Bipul, what we're trying to do with carriers and obviously brokers, because data backup, data security, classification is a very, very important piece of the equation, but that's a piece, because you still need to do a ton of stuff to make sure that the hack doesn't happen. So with SAFE, trying to integrate all of that telemetry, both proactively and reactively. That's why, as you said, we've got a very deep partnership with you guys in putting things together, and then providing a holistic picture of saying, look, this is the real risk in a quantified way, not red, amber, green. And that's where FAIR comes into the picture, because it is an open standard, and we put things together. Since we're talking about quantification, any numbers you can share, Bipul, right? That how many places has this been used in cyber insurance underwriting, or places where the warranty has been utilized, or some nuggets in terms of just trying to give a perspective of what are you seeing in the market?
Obviously, there are a lot of this data is non-public, but one data point I'll share with you. 5 years ago, we created a free service within Rubrik called Ransomware Response Team. And what we were seeing was that as our customers were getting ransomware attacked, we were serving those customers and recovering them, but we were not creating a knowledge base. We were not creating an expertise, because different people from our customer service organization was helping the customers. So we said that we are going to create a dedicated team built for cyber ransomware recovery so that we understand and we uniformly work with Mandiant or Unit 42 or CrowdStrike teams so that we understand the infrastructure risk and how data recovery, data posture all comes together in cyber recovery. And we have done more than 180 big time cyber recovery against ransomware. And
So over 100.
80.
Wow, 180. Wow, almost 200.
So many of our customers are not in the news because we are recovering them so fast. And but what we have really learned is that, again, this whole idea of buying 100 different technologies to prevent attack, that has created false sense of security, and people are like shocked when when they get attacked, saying that how is that possible? So understanding risk, and I'm so glad that you are all here and talking about this, understanding risk and risk mitigation strategies, and bringing this prevention plus this resilience, which is the cure piece, together to have a holistic cyber strategy and understanding of the risk. Because people still are in this mindset of technology, saying I buy this technology, this problem solved. But cyber is not a problem to be solved. Cyber is not going to go away. Cyber is a risk to be managed. And how do you teach probabilistic thinking is to a large set of organization and leaders who are not used to thinking in this way, because it's inherently hard problem. That's why quantification of the risk, creating roadmap, and giving people a path that how do you go to an acceptable risk, and talking about risk quantification, loss quantification, and bringing it all together is important.
Fantastic. Well, that's music to everybody sitting here for sure. Bipul, we are left with 6 minutes, and I want to spend a little bit of time. As of this morning, your company is worth $5.4 billion. And the journey, and I've been very fortunate to have you as a mentor for so many years. I remember the first time you said, Saket, we just crossed $100 million of ARR. I remember you showing me your dashboard at $500 million of ARR. Well, you have totally smashed it when it comes to a startup and truly creating it into a scaled company. And your new guidance to Wall Street is that by the end of the year, you're looking at crossing $1 billion of annual recurring revenue. That's a feat that any cybersecurity company, when it starts, would only dream of, and less than 0.001% companies actually ever get there. The reason I'm asking this question is that for a CISO whose email inbox is flooded with probably every day between 20 to 30 pitches of cybersecurity startups, products, because in total there are around 4,000 security products, depends on how you see it. They want to bet on winners. They want to bet on a company which they know will be around, which can have the kind of success that you have. What kind of guidance do you have for them that when they are evaluating, because Rubrik is Rubrik today, but that was not 6 years, 7 years back when you were still in its early days, right? So what traits, one, you saw in CISOs and CIOs who you were working with that gave you the opportunity, and what should they look for to spot the next Rubrik who they can be a part of the journey in shaping, their risk industry together? So what are the thoughts around that, Bipul, that you'd like to share for CIOs and CISOs in this room?
That's a very insightful question. I came from venture capital background, so I'm an engineer turned venture capitalist turned entrepreneur. And venture capital background told me that when you talk business, then you have to let people understand what is in it for me. Because as a CISO, if you get a pitch which says, go from one tool to the next tool, or buy this new tool, it's a whack-a-mole, and it's going to make you 0.5% better, you're not going to put your time, energy, people, effort into learning and understanding and implementing the technology, because 0.5% change is not impactful. So goal number one for me was, as a seller of technology, as a builder of a company, that are we significantly shifting the landscape? Can I look into the CISO's eyes and say, I'm going to change 10% of your posture? And that's meaningful. And 10% of the posture will not be changed just because you switched from one firewall to the next. 10% posture will be changed if you go from not being able to recover and give a concrete recovery time objective to something that you will be able to do. So it's all about magnitude of change and amount of effort. So if the magnitude of change divided by amount of effort gives you a ratio of 10x, then it becomes interesting. And that was the thinking that I had about how do I go and tell people that we are going to significantly shift their risk posture so that they can sleep easy at night. And that was the number 1, 2, 3 goal. And as a CISO, a lot of CISOs inspired me, CIOs inspired me in my discussions because they pushed me, saying that, Bipul, it's good that you are delivering recovery, but I want to understand posture. And we were the first company that really created the whole DSPM phenomena, where I was hearing from our customers and new prospects saying that it's good to have cyber recovery, but if I don't understand the data risk, how do I know what to recover? What is important? What is not? There are 69 distinct durable store of data in AWS itself. And your developers and engineers are pumping in data there. You don't know who is touching your data, what is the sensitivity of the data, what risk exposure you have. So understanding data, understanding the legitimate or illegitimate access by a legitimate user, what is happening is just understanding that. So in many ways, going out there, being humble, getting challenged, presenting your point of view, collectively learning and dreaming together, and have a high ambition that we are going to go create a new institution, an enduring institution. That's the journey we are on.
And Bipul, that's superb advice for the entrepreneur which is trying to build it. For a CISO who gets a lot of emails, what questions should they ask to the companies which are approaching them? One is, of course, as you rightly said, that it has to solve a big problem, which is almost 10x, the return which is there. But if I'm getting so many emails about cybersecurity vendors every day, right? I'm meeting so many vendors which are out there, right? Any advice you have for the CISOs that what are like litmus tests to know that is this startup real from the other which is out there?
So as a business, I have this strong feeling that you always should do zero-based budgeting, which means that you say, I have no fixed budget for anything. You come and justify to me why you should exist. CISOs should do the same. What happens if I don't have this? And if you have in your gut a good feeling that you'll be all right, never buy that. It's as simple as that. And look, risk quantification is about how comfortable you feel to be able to protect the organization. And if you feel comfortable with not having this tool, then you absolutely not buy that tool.
And then you back that with the data, with the models which is out there.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what FAIR stands for also. Bipul, this has been great. Any parting advice that you have for people in this room that they should keep in mind? Quick summary on what everything we spoke about.
Look, cyber is a fast evolving space. And what you guys are doing is really, tomorrow is my board meeting. And I came here today to ensure that I have an opportunity to meet you and talk to you. It's because what you do is needed in this market. This market has become so cluttered with noise and technology. This is not about noise and technology. This market is about risk and understanding of risk and mitigating risk for the businesses. Because you don't care what technology helps you get there. What is important is what is the risk mitigation that you eventually achieve with the technology. Technology means to an end. So keeping the focus on delivering low cyber risk, quantifying the cyber risk, buying and using technology that significantly moves the risk posture, and create a path for organizations so that they are confident that they can keep their services up and running, no matter what happens, is the future.
Bipul, it's been a phenomenal chat. Thank you for your time. And there's a lot of very, very good advice you've given that we'll learn from. Thank you so much.
Thank you.